Hi, welcome to my kitchen. My name is Morgan. Today we're making 2 apple pies for my church's annual fundraiser. I am following the Joy of Cooking, just their plain old pie crust recipe. My mother-in-law gifted it to me a little while ago and I've enjoyed using it ever since. So especially all like just any plain old basic recipe that you need, it has it. So I'm starting with 5 cups of flour, and then I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of salt and 2 teaspoons of sugar because it's gonna be an apple pie recipe. I figured I would add sugar, and I'm just gonna whisk this together.
You can omit the sugar if you'd like.
And then I have 1.5 cups of lard and 6 tablespoons of butter, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut all of the butter in and then probably half of the lard, and I just have the butter cut into cubes.
If you don't have lard for this pie crust recipe, there are all butter pie crust recipes that you could follow.
And I'm just using a pastry cutter to cut in the lard and butter. If you have a food processor, I would recommend using that just because it would be a lot easier, but I don't have a food processor, so I am just using what I have. I did have this lard in the fridge and my butter in the fridge. I'm just going to be cutting this lard and butter into my flour until my timer goes off for my peaches. So I'm going to be just cutting this lard and butter into my flour mixture until it resembles like pea-sized pieces. Alright, this is how my dough looks. Now I'm going to start incorporating water in, and it's going to be 12 tablespoons of cold water with 2 tablespoons of vinegar added into it.
So the reason I added vinegar to my water is because they say it leads to a more tender, flaky crust, and that it also helps promote browning on the crust. But do your own research. It's up to you whether you want to add it or not. You can just substitute with more water. I've even heard that people add lemon juice to their crust and even vodka, but it is up to you. You can just use straight water. I'm just adding about 1/4 cup of water at a time and making sure to incorporate it really well. I don't want to oversaturate my dough because I can't take the water back out. But if you need a little bit more water, you can add a teaspoon at a time until you are at the right consistency.
My dough is able to stick together now and it's all well incorporated. So I'm gonna get this in the fridge, just have it chilling. So it's gonna be easier to roll out. And then I should be getting 4 pie crusts from this. While our dough is chilling in the fridge, I'm gonna go ahead and get my apples sliced up for the apple pie. I have a big bowl of water with lemon juice in it. I'm not quite sure how many apples I'll need, but I have 4 Granny Smith right now and 6 Golden Delicious. So I'm just gonna go until I fill up my 2 pie pans, and then once I fill up my pie pans, I'll decide whether or not I wanna keep the apples just whole in the fridge for eating, or if I want to go ahead and just maybe quadruple this recipe and make 2 freezer meal apple pies, so then I can have some easy desserts in the freezer. We'll see. I've yet to decide. I am using a apple peeler and corer all in one. If you don't have one, you can just do it all by hand. but this just make it easier, and I have it, so I'm gonna use it. I got this last year when we had an apple tree where we lived, and we had a bunch of apples, and I needed to do something with them. And so I made apple pie filling and applesauce, and I was not peeling all of those apples by hand, so I invested in an apple peeler, core, cutter, all in one, and it saved a bunch of time. So let's go ahead and get started on this, and then we will make our filling and then be able to roll out our pie crust and then fill our pies and get them in the oven for the church fundraiser and maybe even my freezer. If you've never used one of these before, I can run you through it real quick. So I have it to where this is a like plunger to where it can suction down onto your counter or your tabletop, whatever you're using. And then you push it back and it seals it in place, so I can't move it. This little lever back here, you push this in, you drag back the handle. I like to put my apple with the core or the top of the apple in first, and I kind of just center the stem into the 3 prongs at the top. And then this I already had set up, I didn't mess with it, that it was already set ready for the peeler to just start. So to unlock the peeler part, all you have to do is just pull the peeler back and then take the little metal piece that kind of holds it in and just release it, and then your peeler will come up to the top so you can get the start of the apple all the way down. So it's as simple as that, and then you just start spinning. And your apple comes off just like that. Already in slices, all you have to do is cut it in half, or even if you wanted rings, you could cut it into rings. So I'm gonna cut it in half, get it in my bowl, and then all you have to do is take your core, pop it off, take all my skin and put it off to the side, and then press the little lever to pull it all the way back again. And then you can also pull your little lever in to move it back and forth too, not just back. So if you've never used one before and you use a lot of apples, I would highly recommend it. It makes your job 10 times easier. So I drained all my apples, and I'm kind of estimating how many I have. I think since I did 10 apples, I probably have enough for 4 pies. Especially the 2 little ones for the church. So those were the pie tins that they provided us. This apple pie recipe is my mom's, but I'm just gonna kind of do my own thing, taste test as I go, see what looks right, and go from there. So first I'm gonna add probably 1.5 cups of sugar. You can always add more, so. I'm gonna add 1/2 cup of flour and cinnamon. My mom's recipe doesn't call for salt, but I'm going to add some. I'm gonna do a capful, so maybe a teaspoon. And get this mixed together. You could add any like fall, like apple or pumpkin spices. I'm just gonna add cinnamon just because it's for a church sale, so make it kind of pleasing to everyone instead of like adding a bunch of like obnoxious spices, because like I don't like clove, I don't like allspice, I like cinnamon to an extent, so that's why I'm like, I'm just gonna add cinnamon. And my mom's recipe calls for a like crumb topping with pecans in it, or any kind of nut that you'd want to add, but I am not adding any nuts just in case anyone has a nut allergy. Just want to make it as general as possible so anybody can enjoy it. I'm gonna add just a little bit more sugar. There we have it. Our filling is all mixed up. Now we're gonna get started on the pie crusts. Okay, I changed my mind. I'm not doing the pie crusts yet. I figured I better get all the ingredients prepped and ready so then I can just throw the pies together, get them in the oven, and then I'll be set for the rest of the night. I have 1 cup of butter softened in my bowl, and I'm just reusing the same spatula that I had used for the apples, just because it's all going in the same thing. A little cinnamon won't hurt. Just kind of getting this all smoothed out. Okay. So I'm gonna add 1 cup of brown sugar. And I'm using light brown sugar, but you could use dark brown sugar, whatever you have. And then 1 cup of just regular white sugar. I'm gonna get this mixed together. And same thing, my mom's recipe doesn't call for it, but I'm gonna add a little bit of salt because you need a little salt with your sweetness. Probably half a teaspoon. Now I'm gonna add 2 cups of flour. All right, there we have it. Our crumble topping is all set, ready to go. Okay, my pie crust recipe said it should make a, let me double check, 1, 9, or 10-inch double crust. So I should be able to get 4 crusts out of this pie dough. I'm gonna go ahead and just cut it into 4ths. Extra ones right now, I'm gonna just stick back in the fridge and just pull out 1 at a time. Just gonna lightly flour.
I am not an expert pie maker by any means. I just love to bake and I love to get my hands in there and try new recipes, but I've made pie before, so at least I have a little bit of a base knowledge, but I am no expert. So the only way to learn is to just continue to try. So that's what I'm doing.
All right, first pie crust done. I'm gonna go ahead and get my oven preheated to 425 degrees. Now I'm gonna get this back in the fridge.
If you ever feel like you can't do something like this, I just want to give you a little push of motivation to at least try, because you can never succeed if you don't try.
All of this overhang I have, I'm just gonna go ahead and tuck underneath the crust. That I'm gonna take off. It's a little too much. second pie crust done. Before I roll out those other 2 pie crusts, because I am actually baking these and getting them to the church tomorrow, I'm just gonna go ahead and get these filled and in the oven as soon as it's done preheating. That way they're done, ready to go. And my other 2 pies, I'm just gonna put in the freezer raw and just bake them when I need them. Let's go ahead and get our pies filled. I almost forgot to poke holes in my crust, so I'm gonna do that now.
You want to poke holes in your crust so it allows steam to escape while it's baking, so you don't get any big bubbles or air pockets in your crust.
I don't want to fill these pie pans up too full just because they're very shallow. I only filled them up probably up until the height of the pan, and then I'm just letting the juices take over from there. So my oven is now preheated at 425, so now I'm going to get these pies in there for 1 hour. I'm going to get these pans on a cookie sheet, that way they're just easier to handle, and in case there's any spillover, which hopefully there isn't because I didn't fill them that full, it'll be contained and not dirty up my oven. So let's get these in there.
All right, our pies are all set. I'm gonna go ahead and get these put in the freezer, just uncovered. And then we got a little bag of just crumb topping left over. So my mom's recipe states that these apple pies should take about an hour in the oven. I pulled mine out at 45 minutes because this one was getting a little too dark. I threw some aluminum foil over the top of both of them and then put them back in the oven for another 10 minutes just to make sure that the bottom was completely cooked through. We don't want any soggy bottoms on our pies, so we only want nice flaky crisp crusts.
All right, we got 4 apple pies all made up today. These 2 are gonna go to my church, so I'm gonna let them cool completely and then I'm gonna wrap them up, package them, and get them to the church tomorrow. And then I got 2 apple pies for in the freezer here at home. I'm really excited to have these 2 apple pies in the freezer. It's gonna be so easy to just whip up a quick dessert. All I have to do is take it out, thaw it, and throw it in the oven. And we also got some extra crumble topping. And if you watch my peach canning video, you know that I made some peach pie filling. And this is gonna go perfect on top of that for some peach crisp. So thank you all so much for watching while we turned this humble little ingredient into 4 delicious pies. And fall is right around the corner, so it's getting me in the spirit. All right, thank you all so much for watching. Bye.